Welcome back to the Real Power Podcast. Another awesome guest today. Very excited for this episode. We got my buddy Lorenzo here. Lorenzo is the owner of Sesto Synergy, a company that creates unique, high-quality wedding rings using exotic materials and expert craftsmanship. Guys, I got to tell you, I met Lorenzo back a couple years ago. Joe Clem actually made that connection between the two of us, and what he's doing, his business is so cool. He's making these amazing, really cool looking rings. And you can tell he's just super passionate about what he does. And he's built a real business and he's absolutely crushing it in his field. I think this episode will be really valuable for people who maybe not necessarily want to start like a manufacturing ring company, but any sort of like online business where they want to sell a physical product on the internet. I think Lorenzo will have a lot to share about the things he's learned along the way. I'm excited to dive into his story. So, Lorenzo, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Man.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you for having me.
So let's start from the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. Take us back to, I think you said 2015 is when you started your business. How does the story begin for you?
I think the story probably starts way earlier than that. When I was a kid, that I always enjoyed, working with my hands and creating things. I have memories of myself in my grandfather's workshop, playing around with tools and stuff. So nothing exciting, building wise, nothing great, but still like having that passion. And then as I grew up, I went to college for engineering. And during that time is where sort of everything started. So I was still in school.
What kind of engineering were you?
Mechanical.
Okay.
Yep. And this was back in the UK. I went to the UK to do college.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so essentially during my year, I think my second year, I was hired as a junior engineer in this company that manufactured and sold, I think it was laboratory research equipment. So I was just like basically a technician just putting things together. And I felt like that was like my first real job and actually my only job that I ever had, with a paycheck and everything. And after a while, I did enjoy the work, but I didn't really like the trade-in with your time,
Yeah.
So I think definitely motivated. I always wanted to have my own thing and my own business, not quite sure what. So paired that with the fact I always enjoyed making things. I like to give gifts that I make. One Christmas, I decided to make some wood rings. So I bought the supplies. It was probably like $27, something like that. I made the rings and gifted them. And then I was like, I still have some supplies, might as well try to make a few extra ones and put them. It was like Gumtree is like the Craigslist in the UK. Yeah. So I sold my first ring for like $10, something like that.
And that was your very first sale.
Yeah, that was the first sale that kind of led me into starting my Etsy store. And essentially it took a while, but as soon as I was able to make the same amount that I had done, with my paycheck, I kind of gave my 2 weeks notice and quit that job. And
Nice.
Yeah.
So how long did that take from?
I think it's probably, I wasn't like, I was also going to school, so it wasn't like trying to do full-time business.
Yeah.
I think around a year I worked at that job before I quit.
Yeah.
So yeah, enough to kind of like get a sense of how it is to be an employee. It was like 15, 20 hours, I think, a week. Nothing crazy, but I definitely felt like I wanted my time back, especially with the college, trying to do everything.
And did you know, like during school, did you have that like entrepreneurial spirit, or did that come like after you realized you didn't want to work for somebody else?
So the way I see entrepreneurship right now is very different. I think back then that was not really my mindset. I was just trying to, sell something that I made and make more money than I was getting paid, kind of like, this makes sense. This makes more sense for me. It took me actually quite a bit in my journey before focusing more on entrepreneurship and like actually building the business. So I think the first 5 years were kind of like in the box of more of a craftsman that just focused on the products, I was able to grow organically, on Etsy, and I never had the mindset of like doing marketing or any of the other things that you would do in a actual business.
So Etsy was really the platform that kind of propelled you forward in the beginning.
Yep, for sure. And it stood there for a while. So like it took a long time, essentially.
Sure.
That's where I'm getting at, to kind of have that mindset. But, I see a lot of young people that have more the entrepreneur mindset. I just didn't quite have that at the start.
Got it.
Because I was working long hours just making rings, and that's all I was capable of doing, to be honest.
Gotcha. And you were more so like just following a passion that you had. And,
Sure, yeah.
You got good at that passion, and then that kind of turned into an entrepreneurial spirit down the line.
What I was focusing on at first was like, making the best product I could, and learning that on its own took a while to actually like develop the skills to make the product, to where they are right now. So focusing on that took all my energy. And then when I started getting pretty good at that, and making it more efficient, taking back my time by, working on automation, for example, I was able to kind of like have more time to think about, okay, how can we scale it? How can we grow it? And all these other factors that now I'm like super involved in, and I actually enjoy more.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's a good lesson there that you spent that time and really made sure your product was so good before even worrying about like marketing and all that other stuff. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs jump to wanting to, make all this money, build this business when their product is shit. You know what I mean? Like you got to have a good thing that you're selling and have the confidence inside you to know like people want to buy this. And I know because I poured so much into it, whether it's a product or a service, get your service, get your product to a point where you're so confident in it, and then you can go and sell afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I think the harder journey in terms of like, if you think of a business, I make the product and I sell it. So a lot of business, one or the other. And so it turns out that I realized that, mine is more of as you say that, I agree totally. Your product has to be good. I think number one, product has to be good. And, you got to provide so much value to your customers, So like referrals are very important. Just you want to make sure that you're outputting positive, into the world, essentially. But at that point, you realize that marketing is essential, because you could market a bad product and actually make money.
You still can.
It's not, you definitely can if you're good at marketing.
Yep.
And that's, it happened to everyone that bought a product and they're like, I hate this thing, but somehow they managed to sell it to you.
Yeah.
So
when I said that, I was realizing like there are bad products in the world and people are still successful with it. So you can do it, but I think you should strive to be the type of entrepreneur that really does believe in their product and has a great product before trying to market something that's just mediocre. You know what I mean? At least that's the entrepreneur I want to be. So can you give our audience a quick rundown on more specifically what types of products you sell and what your rings look like, what goes into the process, and kind of more detail for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of the rings we make are custom made. Customer can request changes. They come up with an idea, they'll talk to me, and we kind of design a ring together. But otherwise, you can also buy them online. There's photos there, and if you like what you see, you buy it.
Website's really clean, by the way.
Thank you. Working on it. Trying to improve that too. So pretty unique materials. Like I use carbon fiber a lot. I use dinosaur bone, woods, different metals like black titanium, zirconium. Recently started using tantalum, which is I'd never heard of it either. But it's a pretty exotic metal and is probably the hardest to work with. And, that was another challenge of, trying to figure out how to do so. But mostly wedding bands for, we don't necessarily market it for men only. We have even female versions, but we have a lot of men designs.
Sure.
And you can kind of personalize it. A lot of clients like to send us their sentimental materials. Like I just recently did last week a ring that was using the gold of the grandfather's ring, melted down into a new ring for him for his wedding ring. So we actually made with social media, we start doing these videos to kind of like showcase more of that, but most importantly, to provide more value to the customers that get to see how the ring was made.
Yeah, I love it, man. And your rings are so cool. Your social media is popping, by the way. Do you make those videos by yourself? Are you the one making those?
So yes and no. Some of them are the easy shots, but the more complicated ones, I have John that works with me, and it's been great to work with him.
Nice.
Sort of like we team up, and we decide what rings we want to actually produce a long format video. Well, it's still shorts, but like longer than 7 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what works with Instagram. But for YouTube, we found that, longer 30 seconds with a voiceover and a story works very well. So we do those for those clients that have more of a story behind it. I ask every client when they buy from me if there's a story behind why they purchased the ring. And so we're able to kind of like come up with content organically that way, because that was one of the struggles with like, what should we film and how. Yeah, that's been a journey with John that's like very proud of, and it's been very exciting to see the progress that we've done. So
yeah, I love that. And we'll get more into social media in a little bit, but just wanted to say your Instagram looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we're trying. We're kind of like now getting more views, but it's like they're not the right audience.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's trying to like
that's
understand.
A whole other struggle.
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
But it's like anything in business, you just gotta, keep at it, be
Figure
consistent, and set goals and then accomplish them.
So let's talk more about where the majority of your leads come from today. What sources of business you see the most of, if it's mostly referrals now, or how much you're spending on ads and marketing. Break down like what business looks like for you these days.
Yeah, just to a pre-emphasis to that, I think is important to state that I have been focusing on marketing for the past year and a half. So before then, it wasn't my thing. I was like trying to delegate, things weren't working very well, agency, freelancers, like I tried them all. And so I got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to learn it myself. Yeah, I have to take this skill on, and also realizing how my business should be more of a marketing business than a product business. It's like I can't sell or scale if the marketing side is not figured out. So like anything, it takes a long time. And I think a year and a half is still not, where I want to be for sure. So I don't come with experience of like, I've made it to a point that I can teach, right? I can just share maybe the struggles or like what I've learned so far.
Sure.
So far I'm doing I have set up the email marketing, recently done that. That it's super important. I think to sell a product, the way I see it, again, with like quotations, is that the first thing you want to focus on is have a remarketing campaigns across the different platforms that you know how to use, ideally all of them. But like I'm more focused on, I know how to use like Google and Facebook ads so far. And so having a remarketing campaign is important because, you click on it once, you kind of forget it. You want to make sure that you have these ads coming to those clients that, came to you once. Maybe it was a referral too. You want to keep that awareness.
Retargeting, right?
That's retargeting.
Gotcha.
And email. Like those are, I think the first thing I would focus on going back. I didn't do that. I mean, this is me learning it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And have you learned this through like YouTube or like where are you?
Everywhere. I mean, like
trial and error and
definitely a lot of research and trying to learn from others as much as you can, testing things out and just understanding the logic behind it. Because I'm an engineer by trade, or sort of like that's what I believe to be my entity sort of thing, And I always had this thought that I wasn't good at marketing, that wasn't my thing. Looking back, I think something important I would tell myself is like to make sure you don't have these false senses, like this false reality or this
limited belief.
Limited beliefs. Thank you. Yeah. To not have these limited belief about yourself because like you can be whatever you invest your time into.
Yes.
So I decided that I wanted to be good at marketing, and that's kind of like the journey I'm in.
I love that, man. And I'm the same way. Like, so I went to school for engineering as well. Went for industrial process engineering and it was very business oriented. So I think I got a lot of value out of it that I'm using today.
Yeah.
But, my dad, all my uncles were engineers, and I feel like I just kind of went that direction because that's what my brain was wired for. And now marketing is something I'm very passionate about too. And I've learned over the years how to be a better marketer. And just because you go to school or get a degree in, say, engineering, it doesn't mean you can't learn any other skill that you want in the world. So getting over that limiting belief and truly knowing like you can learn anything, especially with the internet today. Yeah.
It requires a lot of effort and you got to go through the learning curve.
Oh yeah.
That's basically you suck. And there's no results. So you got to go through that. And that's like the painful process. But I think specifically about that, I have proof in, if I look back and what I've accomplished, I have proof that, if you start somewhere and you keep doing it, you get better. And so it takes years, but as long as you're committed and you
consistent,
keep consistent at it, you'll see the results.
So Google ads, talk a little more about what you've learned in that.
Google ads. Yeah. So I would say that the way I see it, Google ads is like trying to reach an audience that's a little bit warm, right? Because it's a search-based platform. So people are looking for wedding rings and they're pretty much ready to buy. It's pretty expensive So you got to make sure with ads in general, you have to make sure your conversion rates is good on the website and the offering is good, the pricing is good. And that's something I'm like pulling back and trying to work on more. Once people come in, what's the experience of the customer? I would say I'm pushing back a little bit on ads right now to try to refocus and make sure that what people see when they come in, it's amazing. And I think that's well worth to do before spending too much on ads. I think
Because you can waste a lot of money on ads.
And it's all about data marketing. It's all about testing. And so a little bit I think is important to spend so you can get a flow and see how people react and what can you learn from that. So very warmer audience, expensive. I think Facebook, I have a remarketing campaign that works very well. I do want to do more of a cold audience marketing campaign. But I'm waiting to get the content right, because with a cold audience, you kind of like how you build an ad that stops a person from scrolling and making sure that you're talking to the right audience. It's so important because Facebook is so data-driven, AI-driven that they will see basically how long you spend looking at the ad or like scrolling, like where your eyes are going, based on the information that you don't have access as a marketer. You don't have that finer data. It will determine who else to show it to. So that's why it's important in the first 3 seconds to be like, call out your audience. You know, you need a wedding ring. You need a wedding rings because everyone else that don't need it, scroll because I don't want the data to.
But if you need it, you're like, oh, I do.
I do, and you stay a little bit longer. And so, I think the content in Facebook is very, very important. I am starting to see how that is the case. I want to make sure I build like an ad that's well done, essentially. So kind of working on that. It's not my top priority right now. Because like I said, I'm trying to improve the customer experience first and making sure the offering is amazing. So I'm more so, it might be crazy, but I'm more so focused on the experience the customer gets after they buy from us. So I'm not trying to get in too many people in the door. It's just trying to treat the people that came in and with an awesome experience, so good that, they weren't expecting, first of all, and then they will tell their friends.
And they're going to tell all their friends, and that's it right there. That referral, driving those referrals, and it goes right back to making sure your experience, your product is world-class and that people talk about it, and that is your best marketing, really. So let's talk about the customer experience, customer service, because that is something that I care so much about, and I think it's led to a lot of the success in my own business. Because if you treat every customer like it's your only customer, that's something that I live by. And even when you have hundreds, thousands of clients, if you continue to treat everyone who comes into your business like they're the most important person in the world, I think that's how you build a really sustainable and big business.
Absolutely. And it's just hard to do because the scalability of it. So then it's about processes and implementing the right systems, to make it feel like it's, it's tailored, but also has to be somewhat automated, or has to be efficient, because otherwise you're increasing your operational so much that then you're actually not providing a good product. Whenever you're adding onto your plate, it's like making sure that's as efficient as you could possibly do it. Because if the numbers are big and you have a lot of clients, then you don't want to reduce. You don't want to do the opposite effect.
Yeah, that's a great point. And in the beginning, it's okay to almost do things that aren't scalable because you want to provide such an over-the-top experience for your client and get that train going.
Absolutely.
But to your point, exactly. Once you have so much business, you want to still provide as good of an experience as you can, but systems and processes and automation is going to allow you to do that at scale.
Those always come after, like you don't want to, if I think of automation, whenever I automate something, it probably takes, I was actually reflecting on it, it's probably 100 to 150 hours, 150 times the amount of time that it takes to do something, to automate it, right? Maybe softer, a little bit less, but so it's like, it has to be like the thing you do. So you're right. You start with like something that's not scalable. It takes forever, but you do it because you want to see how people react to it. And then there's like, okay, this is a good idea. So I'm actually going to invest more time, effort, money, whatever it takes to kind of like make it more efficient. But yeah, definitely start with something that's not scalable.
That's what I've learned. And even the opposite end of that is, and this is probably because I have the engineering background, is wanting to build all the systems and automations and processes before when you don't have any business yet. It's like the first step is being uncomfortable and still going out there and doing your best and getting customers and messing up and fixing things so that you have a product that people like and want, and then you go and build the systems on top of that. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that continuous improvement and the mentality of always continually improving in your business has had on your entrepreneurial career?
I think that should be, though, sort of a mantra that, I mean, I've tried to follow across the board with things, you know. At one point, maybe I was more focused on business. Now I'm just really making sure like everything in my life is improving. And I think that's very important for your own like mental health and just your happiness in general.
Definitely.
But definitely like continuous improvement just means how can I make it better? There's always versions to things. You're never finished. Like I literally have all my processes have version numbers on it. And some of them I might touch for a while because it's not priority, right? I can't always improve everything. Maybe you have ideas, write it down and forget.
Yep.
Make sure you're improving the things that actually impact the business or your time.
Most leverage.
Yeah.
Yep.
But always trying to think about how you could do it better, and also being aware that however you're doing it right now, as much as you can do, as good as you can make it, it's not going to be, you know, it's going to be changed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do the best you can, but always be open to revise and improve.
Always. There's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And I think from both a business and personal standpoint, like as entrepreneurs, we find a little success and admittedly we get a little like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. And then our mind kind of closes up a little bit, when that's the time when you really need to continue like letting ideas come in from outside sources that, you know, people who are better than you. I think it's a good segue into surrounding yourself with people who are better than you in mastermind groups and communities. So talk about like if you're in any of those groups and the impact it's had on your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going back to learning from people that know more from you, like experience, not everyone has the ability to do so, like in person. That myself included, I struggle with like finding people I can learn from in person, just because I don't know them. But there's so many other ways, like watching videos, or most importantly, I think books are definitely something that anyone should try to do. Whatever is it that you're trying to learn or grow in, there's probably a book about it. And so I would usually recommend anyone to like really read what they're passionate about or what they want to learn and improve.
Yeah.
In terms of like what you can do in your circle, if you have the opportunity to meet people that are kind of similar mindset and you know, own business and trying to like grow and do the best they can, then organizing a mastermind group is definitely something I would recommend doing. The one I'm at with Joe, actually, the way we look at it is not so much of mentoring each other. We're like, we definitely can share our struggles and someone can add some insights for sure, but it's about accountability. So for us, you know, business owners, we don't have a boss, and unless you have a team you're working towards, they see what you do or like you want to keep pushing. Other projects that's entirely on your own could be, you know, you could kind of like have the habit to
like I don't feel like it today.
Yeah, exactly. So I think having a group where you're accountable and explain what your goals are for the next week and kind of work towards it, that has been has provided me a great impact in the way I execute. And that's how I see it. It's just a way to help each other execute. We all, at the end of the day, like, you know, Joe has a different business than I do. I can give advice, or I try to, but again, he is the one that knows about his business the most. And so he knows what's best at the end of the day. So it's just making sure you are actually doing the things. It's easy to get busy in the work and not actually work on the business. And I think if you really want to, like, I want to grow, so I want to make sure like maybe 50 to 40% of my time is actually working on the business, not in it.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And Joe was telling me that you guys just will get together and you'll just work together. Like, not even like you said, you know, you'll bounce ideas off each other, but it's just that accountability piece of like, we're going to sit here together and we're going to work on our businesses and we're going to get shit done in this time frame.
Yeah. I mean, it's also about squeezing social life into like, if you work a lot, it's like you don't have that much time to actually spend with friends. And so if you have that in common, that's awesome.
What's been the biggest challenge for you so far in scaling your business?
I would say working through that limiting belief of, you know, being good at something and actually seeing something that the business needs to be developed and feeling like you don't have the skills or like you don't want to develop yourself there, and really pushing through that mindset and saying like, you know, kind of believe in yourself and go through that cycle of learning a new skill. That takes time. So for scalability, knowing how to market a product is essential. I found that, you know, outsourcing that has always shown to be not the right move. And nobody cares. Like, this is one thing that I experienced and I think is a truth. And it's important to also understand personally. It's like at the end of the day, nobody cares. So when you reach out to agency or freelancers, you got to make sure you understand you're really a number. And unfortunately, you assume that people treat their clients the way you treat them, but it's not necessarily true. So unless you have like a big capital and you're like a big company, I'm sure agency might work better at that level, I think, but I don't know, so I can't really say.
Sure, yeah.
Either way, so it's like recognizing the business needed a certain skill, and I didn't have that skill, and then having the strength to be like, okay, I'm gonna go through that process of learning something new and being patient with it, and knowing that, you know, there's gonna be lots of failures, but as long as you're getting better every day, going back to the continuous improvement, as long as you really feel progress, you don't have to see it. You know, you don't have to see your numbers progressing. The small KPIs you should follow is, you know, something that's more lead measures versus lag.
Yes, I love that you just said that, man. And that's something I'm trying to get better as a business owner too, because, you know, with our business, it's pretty seasonal and we're in, you know, summer months are pretty high for us. So it's easy to kind of sit back a little bit and be like, oh, business is good right now. But making sure we're continuing to do the activities that will carry us through the slow season in the winter, tracking those KPIs is huge. So talk a little bit about like what things you track in your business.
I can give you a more case scenario like what I'm doing with John with social media, for example.
Okay.
I think it's very important to set goals and deadlines, and those goals should be uncomfortable, but not too big, because you want to hit more goals. You don't want to like hit one big one once a year, you know? Right. I've done that in the past, and that did not work too well, you know? So for example, like our first goal was like get a video 10,000 views, right? Should probably not, I'm not sure if that's the best KPI, but that's beyond that point. It's just saying, okay, this is what we're going to focus on. And that's actually a lag measure. You can't control views, really.
Right.
So time frame was like, let's give ourselves 10 weeks to get there, right? And because at the time when we started, that was actually something very uncomfortable, you know, to reach that. And so what we focused on after that was like, okay, forget about that 10,000. What can we do every week that will help us get there?
The
so
inputs.
like the inputs, like what we control, right? So the number of videos and the quality of videos, always looking back and seeing what worked, what didn't work. Those are the actions that we would always discuss. I think you need to have a scoreboard that shows where you're at in terms of like that mental thing that it's always visible. But other than that, you don't sit around and think about how can we get that 10,000 views. It's more so specifically, it's more like how many views, how many videos we posted, how can we increase that number, because you know, more videos will mean more chances, pretty much.
You can't just think your way to 10,000 views. You have to do things, improve your videos, push out more content. Did you guys hit your 10,000 goal?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so that was the first goal. We hit it in 6 weeks.
Nice.
Now we're working on our fourth goal, I think, of since we started working together, is hitting 1 million views in a week across the platforms.
That's awesome.
So we kind of switched it around. I think the next goal will be away from views, because we achieve all these views, but it's not the right audience. The KPI, the goal should drive the actions, right? And so obviously if you want more views, you're going to do what is necessary to get the more views. Yeah. And you kind of learn as you go. And that's why important is setting the right goals. And so we'll probably shift, but it's fun because every so often, anytime we hit the goal, we sit down and we figure out what the next goal is, and then we go and work towards it. Yeah, so that's been the way I would drive, you know, a team, or just generally yourself too. But like it's much easier when you're working with someone, having clear goals in mind, and then tracking it, and then working together as a team to try to accomplish
specific measurables process to get there. How are you specifically, you know, you talk about getting more views isn't always the best plan, because you can have lots of followers and they're not the right followers. So specifically for you guys, like what are you doing in your content to attract the right customers into your business?
With social media, the goal right now isn't necessarily to sell more product. We're trying to sort of entertain, right? Let's create content that's like there's strangers watching it. They're necessary. Don't need rings. We just want to have something for them to watch.
A cool video. They're like, oh, I'm sticking around for this.
Cool. Yeah. It's like, it's entertaining. So you watch it past like the 3 seconds, that means, you know, you were entertained. That's our goal.
Which, by the way, we looked at our metrics and it is surprisingly low, the watch time. When you actually look at your content, it's like 6 seconds or something. It's like, what is going on here? We put all this effort into this video. Anyways, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's kind of working with the algorithm, what it pushes out. So and learning all of that has been kind of fun, and it's just how it is really. But that was our initial goal. Let's keep entertaining. And then I was like, well, these people that are entertaining don't know us, and they're probably just scrolling. And so we're putting so much effort and resources and time into creating these videos. Why don't we actually do it for our clients? So that's where it kind of shifted, where we're posting all these content, but the reason why we're making them is so that our clients that we talk to is like, hey, we posted a video right there and right there. Nobody sees that, it's more internal. And that's where it's like you give more value than they expected, because, you wouldn't know unless, I would tell you about it. But the views is like, okay, cool. Like we're getting all this. The point is just trying to provide something extra to our clients that actually bought the product from us. Yep. And with that, hoping to do marketing and things like that. This is where we are right now. I'm sure like there's room to grow and like trying to reach the better audience, but it's the journey where we're in at.
Got it. And what kind of videos and content specifically are you making to provide value to your current clients? What does that look like?
So the process happens that they purchase the ring from us. I process it, and when it goes in production, it goes through a process quality control where everything is checked. And so it gets scanned, and an email is sent out to the customer saying, hey, your ring is in production. It should be done soon. Trying to add those small steps that people feel like, they're informed of what's happening. And if you want to see behind the scenes, you can, send us a DM on Instagram. We'll post a story or a reel, whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
And then when they reach out, so that's a percentage of people who reach out, we send another message saying, what's the story? Why did you appreciate it? If you want to share your story, we'd love to make a video out of it. And then when they share that, we create a longer version video. We're still on short, so vertical format. I'm not doing the horizontal. And we do a voiceover talking about the story as we make the ring from start to finish. And that usually performs very well on YouTube. So we just make that our YouTube content. And then on Instagram, what works very well is very short ASMR videos. So what we do clips from, as we film, is like, this could be a perfect Instagram video where it's just like 7 seconds of like in between. And then, it's just like a portion of it. And you can just start scrolling our page and see all different things that are all random. Just because it wasn't performing as well, we didn't notice, the story of the customer and like talking about the ring, how it was made. It hasn't worked so well there. So, we're trying to do based on platform what works well. And this is where we landed so far.
Got it. Yeah. That's great. And the fact that you're truly making the customer feel like they're part of the journey in the production of the ring, and like, it's those little personal touches that really matter to people. Like how many companies actually do that? Like send us a DM and we'll show you like on our story, like the process. So going back to when you're scaling a business, the more you can keep things feeling boutique and small, even as you grow. I think that's the winning formula, and you guys are doing a great job at it.
Definitely hard to scale that. It is pretty
hard.
Tough, but if it works, then you're like, okay, how can I scale it? And then you start answering that.
And I think it just comes down to training your people to do exactly what you're doing. Obviously, they might not do it as good as you, but if they can do 80% of your 100%, that's good enough many times. What have you learned so far about management and hiring, specifically on both the in-person local employees and then also like remote employees?
There's different types of people you would hire for a different position. And so the hiring and interviewing might be a little bit different. If you're hiring someone more for a technician side, just do the task, is different than if you're hiring someone to like build your social media, right? And then you have freelancers that I try to always outsource anything that is labor intensive, repetitive, that can be done on a computer. Like for example, editing photos that are always the same. I wouldn't outsource the editing of your social media because it's so important to have a person right there where you can look at how it's edited and try to iterate. Wherever you want to drive progress, you should keep in house. That's how I see it.
For contractors and outsourcing, what do you use? Like Fiverr? Do you?
Fiverr, Upwork.
Fiverr and Upwork. Okay.
So the process of hiring, I've at first when I've hired people to help me, for example, make the rings. It's like, I'm so busy, I need to hire someone. So like, let's make this listing perfect. Okay, let's interview, and then you just grab someone that seems decent. And you go about that. And right now the process is much different. I would spend a lot more time planning the job itself before even thinking about posting posting it as like I'm actually doing the interviews. So the first step for me is prepare the job. So prepare all the processes that they would have to do.
Yep.
And make sure there's nothing that could be improved, automated, for example, so that you don't have to train someone.
Yep.
Once you have a good idea of what the job is, then create like, if it's in person, the application should speak up to the person that you want to hire, like as close as possible, right? If it's trying to build, like, for example, the social media page, you want to make sure that the application, the job description, speaks to that person.
Calls them out.
Yeah, calls them out and speaks to them directly. So you kind of like trying to recruit from there, put effort in actually the application itself. Again, in person and freelancers, I will always do these tests, kind of prepare something that they can, showcase their skills in some ways. So if we go, for example, with when I hired John, I had all my applicants just make a reel, right? Around here, no pressure. Like, I just want to see what you could come up with, your creativity. Turned out he flew the drone. He did this crazy shot. I was like, okay, you're good.
You're good.
Yeah. And so you can kind of tell immediately. You kind of I didn't used to do these tests, or like ways to actually see them work, and you can learn so much from it. So I would definitely recommend that. In some ways, every job is different, but maybe you got to be creative and kind of figuring out what this like 5-minute thing could be.
Yeah.
For example, for the freelancers, I would have Google Drive specifically for that job, where it has the description of the job. I have a sample of the job completed, and then I have a folder with like your trial, right? And so they got to go and do that. And I will send it out to like 10 people, and I get the one that's the best and the best price, kind of merging those two.
Yep.
That way with freelancers, it's much faster. You can always have like a 1 or 2 or 3, like in terms of like, if he doesn't work out anymore, I have another person I could reach out. Yeah. So trying to be efficient there. And maybe if you don't have a backup, you just send out this job again. It's like always there. So organizing your kind of processes as much as possible. I think communication is the biggest skill in running a business, is making sure that you can communicate clearly. With a freelancer, when you hire an Upwork, it's, if you don't speak to them on the phone, for example, you can see all the communication you had with them. And so how efficient was that? How long did it take for them to understand what the job was? Like how much communication time is it spent? So trying to make that as efficient as possible. If you have to do a Loom video where you explain things, do that. Like, prepare for the job before you actually go find the person. And then all you got to do with the freelancer, just send out the link of the drive and say, this is the job. Can you do it? Perfect. And then, in person, it takes longer. So you have to have them come in, but you still want to go through that test, and you want to spend a lot of time hiring, especially in person. You want to, go through a lot of people and not rush it. If you hire well, the management, it won't be there.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's, if you hire fast and you got to manage people, and you hired wrong, and
you took a shortcut.
Take a shortcut there. What I experienced is that this is something you'll have to learn while doing it, and you'll fail at it. And I mean, I failed at it, and I learned from that. The repetition of just doing that builds up that muscle, and builds up that experience of knowing how to do it. And so, like anything, hiring is something that imagine your 100th employee you hire. How would you hire him versus like your first one?
That's a great perspective. Yeah.
So just accept that you're learning too, and it's okay to, make mistakes there, and just try to get better.
And the lesson there is like, there's a hiring process for a reason. Like, hiring is a huge thing in your business. You need to like learn that it's not just, my cousin can do this. Like, let me just interview at minimum, I'd say at least 5 people for every position. I think that's a good benchmark, and hopefully a lot more
in
than
person,
that.
Maybe, but maybe on the phone, like 30.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. It's just a numbers game, honestly. It really is. Like, the more people you interview, the more better candidates you're going to get. And it's just a funnel, right? And you want to load the top of the funnel with as many people, so that when you get down to the bottom, you have the best selection. And then, to your point, management doesn't become such a hard thing for you, because you have someone who's right for the position. Yeah.
And I noticed with people, I think what the top priority should be is like, you feel like you have a good relationship with that person.
Yeah.
Like the thing of like you getting stuck in the airport with them. I heard a quote once. It's like, you want to hire people you would be happy to spend a night in the airport
Yeah,
with, you
that's
know,
a good
like
one.
it's not like a dreading thing. That's very important because if it's in person, you know, they will influence your thoughts, your energy. And so you want to make sure it's a positive environment and that is constructive, and you're all growing towards whatever goal you set yourself. So that to me is like what I would read the most, like in the room, how is it feeling, more so than the skills you can teach.
Yep.
And unless you're hiring for something very skilled, but still I would value that more than other things. So
Couldn't agree more. And that's
Yeah.
my entire team. I tell this every time, like only one person on my team had videography skills. The rest were great people that we taught videography to. Any other skill, you can learn anything. Obviously, there's very high level stuff that maybe you need someone who specifically knows that. But even so, like them being a good human being over that skill, I value more. Let's talk a little bit about mindset and the mindset you have to have as an entrepreneur, because business is hard. It's tough. It'll challenge you. And if you don't have your mind wired the right way, things can go south, right? So what do you do in your own life to cultivate a strong mindset and keep everything flowing?
I think being influenced by the right people is very important. So filtering a lot who I spend time with. And like I said, sometimes you don't have the availability of knowing great people, but there's books. And I think books are a great way to kind of work on your mindset. And what I found very fascinating and starting to read about, or this, can I plug in another podcast, or is it
Oh,
just,
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So one thing that I found very useful was this podcast called Founders, and they go through all the autobiography of great people that have done amazing things in their lives, and listening to their lives and what they did, it has been very helpful, I think, to put in perspective, first of all, how long it takes to do things, and then no one really had it figured out, but they made it happen. So I think that's amazing. One thing that I'm very adamant about is staying healthy. I started CrossFit like a year and a half ago.
Nice.
And that has been the reason why I've done it. Of course, like you want to have a healthier body, but it was definitely to work on my mind and the mental health, and going through pain. It's what I was seeking. Like, and not only that, at the time when I started, I also was starting marketing. So it was a painful process to me to like learn that, and all the failures that came with it as you learn it. I felt like the exercising and going to the gym has such a similar story, but it's easier almost, because all you got to do is show up and go there, and after 6 months you start seeing some results. But the first few months you see nothing and just pain. And so it is, to me, it's like a metaphor almost, that I like to stack chips in my mind of like, I've done this, I was able to go through that, and I accomplished this and accomplished that.
You have proved to yourself, like, I can get through hard things.
Yeah, that's how I built out the confidence, because I've done it. I know the pain to get there, and when I'm doing difficult things, I fall back on that and I drive off of it. So to me, that's very important. Like, I see a healthy body as a healthy mind. I think it's super important. Even now that I tore my Achilles, I still train.
He got here and he's on crutches. I'm like, shit, man, we got to go upstairs right now. I felt bad, but he made it up. He's a trooper.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, what I focus on is not to be affected by things I can't control. Maybe I could have controlled not to pull the Achilles. I was pushing very hard at the gym. But whatever, it happened. So then the mindset is like, what are you going to do? It's terrible news, but not really. I was like really trying to find the glimmer in this situation. And if I look back at it being broken, it was actually a good thing. The outcome was positive.
You're telling me blessing in disguise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you have control over that, dictating that. You could have stayed home and just like, feel sorry, or like, that sucks, I can't train, or you don't do that, you do something else and control what you can. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I worked on my mindset for a long time, and it's pretty solid. Like, I'm pretty happy these days. I look at days and I try to judge them if it was a good day or a bad day, and knowing that some days are bad and that's okay. And mostly they're good. I'm grateful to be doing what I do every day. Like I enjoy it. I find pleasure in the progress of doing things.
Me too.
I try to, my mindset has shifted there too of like, it's good to have objectives, but I think you need to find pleasure in actually accomplishing those things. Whatever it is, it's like the chase,
The
journey of it, you know, the progress of it. So like that is to me why I do things, you know, and the goals are just there to have a post where you can say you've accomplished it, but it's really enjoying the journey of it all and making the best you can and controlling what you can, and what you can't, you just accept it without, you know, too much emotions about that.
Spot on, man. It's if you can learn to enjoy the process of being an entrepreneur, of building something, that is where I find so much passion, and I wake up fired up every day to just work on my business and get better and improve little things and build more camaraderie with the team around me. And if you can fall in love with that, goals are great, money's great, success is awesome. But if you enjoy what you do every day, that's success in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Then you want to be happy and want to feel that way. And you got to kind of look at what makes you happy on a day-to-day basis, and then make sure you have that in your days, you know?
Yeah. What do you like to do for fun outside of business besides CrossFit?
I have a dog, so I would go on walks with him. Always enjoyed that. He's also a bit broken. He's getting older, but so we're kind of taking a break from that.
You're injured together.
Yeah, we're injured together. Other than that, I don't know. Rochester has, you know, it might not be the best beach, but I grew up in Italy. To me, sand and the sound of the water is amazing. So I used to go there at least once a week. Yeah. You know, to try to do that. But, you know, spending time with friends, making pizzas at home. I would say that I work a lot. Like the time I have limited associated to things outside of work it's limited. And I'm okay with that. That's like by design. Yeah. I need certain aspects, you know, in the life, like the social side of it is still important. Yep. I think without it, you kind of burn out. So trying to mix that in is, I find it important. Yeah.
When did you move here from Italy, by the way?
So I moved here 2017. So that makes 7 years, about 7 years. Yeah.
And did you know English before coming over?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Your English is pretty good.
Yeah. I did college in the UK. So I moved a lot. My family's Italian. Everyone is there right now. But when I was born in the US. So I was kind of the only one in the family that had the passport.
Got it.
I had 2 passports. And so we moved when I was like 5 back home in Italy. And then, so I feel like I was drawn to the US because I had the passport and I was like American. And so I had this love for it, kind of always wanted to come back. And especially with the business, I wanted to bring the business here. Yeah. Because I felt like this is more me, like the environment. So yeah, I moved here 7 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you speak fluently in Italian?
Yep.
All right, say something to me and I'll translate it for you.
Ok, oggi stiamo facendo il podcast con Cam e stiamo parlando di business, or business compagnie. Yeah, so
I don't know what you just said. What'd you say?
Today we're doing a podcast with you and we're talking about business. I don't know.
It's so funny, man. I took Italian in high school and I remember like zero things.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
It's a great language. It really is. My wife and I want to visit Italy. That's on our list of places to travel, but we're trying to see as many things inside the States right now because there's so many places we haven't even gone in the US, but Italy will be the big international trip probably in the next couple of years here. So
for sure.
You'll have to give me some advice on where to go and how to enjoy it the most. Goals for the future. Where do you see your company in the next couple of years? Any personal goals for yourself? What's Lorenzo, the entrepreneur, look like in the next couple of years?
I would say just keep chipping away with these goals. With the things we're working on, I have different projects going on and I would really like to see them through. One thing that excites me a lot is this software that I'm building for the office. That's kind of like the way I called it Aurora.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's already like sort of built. It's not fully like independent. But the vision is to build something that you kind of speak to it and it deals with all the operations.
Cool, man. AI driven?
AI and code. Yeah, both. So I actually just had when I actually broke my Achilles, I spent like 14 hours a day coding. That's the only thing I could do. So I started building this automation for uploading like listings online. And that's part of like what Aurora will be able to do. So essentially it can do, right now it can process the orders. It can create the codes that will go then in production for the rings to be made. It can process the shipping. It can do everything that you do on the computer. I'm starting to add these modules to it.
Dude.
And then ideally, you know, like with AI, the way I see it, like AI is going to drive so much growth and ability for us business owners to kind of like make things a lot more efficient. The vision is for it to be essentially a program you communicate it to it, maybe even communicates to the customers for like simple matters, you know, chatbot style. If you want an update with the order, it can tell you, oh, it's at this station, because it knows it has all the database internally, plus it has the ability to communicate with customer email or through Etsy. So that's kind of what I'm building long term. It's something I'm very excited about. Actually going to have an intern starting. That's a software engineer. That's
No way,
yeah.
dude. That's exciting.
Yes, yeah, so much.
Wow.
So I would like to see it actually played out. I mean, I don't know with AI, you know, I try to use AI as much as possible and get really comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be like, you know, it's too complicated. I'm like, yeah, this is the future. Like,
You're going to get left behind if you don't learn it, right?
yeah, absolutely. Like I can already see a lot of ways that can help improve a business, and I'm all about automation and making things better. I always like focus in the production side, but now I'm looking at the software side, and it just makes so that we can focus on making the product, which is the most important for the client, you know? So like trying to remove as many steps as possible to run the business and allow us to just focus on making products.
That's amazing. So do you see yourself focusing more of your time and energy on that rather than your actual business over the next couple of years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is completely integrated with the business, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm doing a lot of this work, so it'll help remove without having to hire someone that does it. I'll actually like end up automating so nobody has to do it.
But do you see yourself like selling this software to?
Oh, no, I don't.
It's
Not
just something for your own business.
It's so tailored to whatever.
Well, you
know.
could. I mean, theoretically, you could sell it to other people who have the same business model as you, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's not the driving force. My driving force is just like
make your business better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
So, and I love this stuff. This is stuff that makes me happy, and I'm excited about. It's just working on hard things. Which to me is you know, gives me pleasure. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Favorite book? I know we touched on it a little bit, and I'm sure you have a lot of good recommendations, but if you could narrow it down to one or two, personally or professionally, that have had a big impact on your life as an entrepreneur that you want to share with the audience.
Not specifically business, but the way you see life. Chop Wood and Carry Water was a great short book that basically talks about, you know, enjoying the process and not worrying about the outcome, kind of surrendering that and just like enjoying the process of becoming great. And so that was definitely a great for my mindset. And so I would definitely recommend this. It's pretty short. In business, the most recent book I read, to me, it has been, right now, it's maybe because it's fresh, but one of the best books I've read, it was the biography of Elon Musk that goes into the nitty gritty on how he functions, how he's able to operate. And I took a lot of lessons from that, or, you know, I try. And I have to say that kind of allowed me to better understand how you can make sure you keep driving, for example, with John in social media, or like how can you, with a team, do something that's far greater than anyone knows how to do at any one point. And essentially it's, you want to drive them with like deadlines and like have a big vision for them. And then most importantly, that I kind of missed at the start, like a lot of the ideas does come from him. You know, when I would hire someone, I would expect like, oh, okay, so now you're the expert, like I'm hiring you, so the idea should come from you. And it kind of shift my mindset, being like, that would be great, but you can't allow that to have, like, you need to have ownership of like your business. So you can be the driver of those ideas. And as long as you have a team that helps like doing the more of the legwork, you can just come in and, you know, take in all the data and then output like a better idea, and that's okay.
It's a great point, because you as the leader, you normally do have the most context on all the situation, right? So normally your decision making is the best. At the same time, though, multiple brains are better than one, and you want to make sure you're always taking into account. But
but that's why it's important to like have meetings, and you pretty much get all the information
from them.
That way you leverage your skills a lot more, and that's how you are able to work on subjects that are completely different, but still like driving those, you know?
What's the name of the book? Do you remember?
Biography of Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson.
Okay. Is this newer book? Or is it?
I think it came out recently, probably. Yeah.
Cool.
He's the same author that did Steve Jobs.
Oh, got it.
Yep.
Okay. That's a great one. I always love hearing any recommendations. I used to read a lot, and now it's more like podcasts. That's where I get a lot of my information. Audiobooks sometimes.
I mean, I say I read, I do audiobooks.
You listen to everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most people do now. It's hard to sit down, find the time to actually read a book. Self-education as a whole. I was talking to Joe about this actually on last episode. Not relying just on our modern traditional education system because it won't take you very far.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do big things in life, you have to have the motivation to seek out that information in books, in podcasts from other people. Because the minute you stop self-educating is the minute you stop growing. At least I believe that. And
Absolutely.
so that's why I'm so big on like every guest I have on, what are you reading? Like, what are you consuming to help the audience as they try to build a business, become an entrepreneur? That information is so important.
I'm curious, do you follow Alex Ramosi?
I do.
Stuff?
Yeah. Oh, lots of it.
Yeah. Okay.
He's probably the GOAT right now. Like
Yeah.
he's has the most influence over like the business community, I think, and his books, $100 million offers, $100 million leads, and then I think he has another one coming out soon.
Yeah. But even Layla, it's great for like people, and
Oh yeah.
I actually really enjoy even following what her advice is, and I think they're spot on. Great,
Yeah,
great.
she's
couple.
actually running the business. Yeah, great couple.
Yeah. Power couple right there.
Seriously. Yeah, she's a beast too. Like
Yeah.
I think her skill set is like hiring and managing people and being the CEO.
Driving teams, yeah.
And Alex is just big vision and
Marketing, bringing in the leads, yeah.
Bringing in the leads, yeah. Yeah, any Hormozy stuff is huge. Parting wisdom for our audience today. Thank you for all your knowledge. What do you want to leave our audience with as they start their journey into entrepreneurship if they're new, regardless of what business they want to start?
Yeah.
What's that last piece of advice you want to give someone as they start their journey?
I would say it goes back to continuously improve, because you're not going to have all the skills at first, definitely won't. And so long that you keep improving, you'll get there. It's just a sort of guarantee. Then you got to be patient for it.
Patience. Yeah. Oftentimes you won't know the next step you have to take, and you have to have faith that you just have to keep going in that direction, and solutions will start to appear when you continue the climb, if you will.
Yeah. Expect it to be hard, and consistency is what makes it happen. I think going back to the gym, fitness, it's like you don't see results, you got to keep showing up, and you'll see the results. So I think that's a great metaphor to keep reminding yourself, if you don't have the results yet, is to just keep disciplined and consistent. That will show up. You know?
Yeah. The longer you can go with not seeing results, but knowing you're doing the right things.
Absolutely.
That's the key right there. Lorenzo, brother, thank you so much for being here today. I think this is going to provide a ton of value to newer entrepreneurs who are in a similar space as you. They want to start something similar to you. You're a wicked smart dude. I want to tell you that. You have a good brain in your noggin over there. Smart guy, driven guy. We'll have to get a CrossFit workout in at some point.
Yeah, in a bit. I'm kind of.
We'll have to wait until you can do upper body stuff.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
I'm more of like a bodybuilding guy, but you'll probably kick my ass in cardio stuff. But I'm trying to get better at cardio and getting my heart rate up, because that's important stuff too. Like muscles are great, but I want to be healthy overall.
Oh yeah, you want to get the blood flowing.
Yeah.
It's good for. I always feel energized after, so it's get a boost of energy.
I just hopped in a cold plunge prior to this.
Nice.
So I've been cold plunging lately, and that's done wonders for even like inflammation in the body, like sore joints and stuff. I've noticed a lot in that. And then just like clarity. Like if I do that right before a show, my thoughts just flow better, and you feel so energized and electric after getting out of it. But it sucks while you're in there, that's for sure. The first time you get in there, you're like, I feel like I'm gonna die. Yeah. And then you just gotta push through that pain. And then you're like, okay, this is all right. I can do this. And if you can last a couple minutes in there, you're
pretty good. A couple minutes.
Yeah, I did 2 minutes today. So
nice. First time, were you in 2 minutes?
No, first time I did like 30 seconds. So I've slowly worked my way up. But there's one guy, I had him on the show actually, Chef Cruz. He's a really great chef in the local area. He does 8 minutes in the cold plunge. 8 minutes in 40-degree water. And he just sits there and he's just calm and he's an animal. That's all I got, man. Thank you again for coming on the show. Let's plug your social media and also plug your new in-person appointments that you're doing for local stuff.
Yeah, so social media is Sesto Synergy. And then, we started having in-person appointments. So if you're looking for a wedding band, you can come in and kind of check out the work we do at the workshop. And, we'll get you sized and ready for the wedding.
Very nice, very nice. And where is your studio office?
We're in St. Paul Street.
St. Paul
near
Street.
the Jenny Brewery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great spot. Go check out Lorenzo if you need a wedding ring, if you're getting married soon. He's doing awesome things. It's a pleasure to have gotten to know him and excited to see where he continues to take his journey. And I think he's on to really big things. So, Lorenzo, thank you again for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.
We will catch you in the next episode. See you then. Peace.